Chapter 225 of Shrimadbhagavatam, Rukmi frustrated. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Soon, the kings had to admit defeat and returned crestfallen. Jarasandha led the others in the retreat and they went to Shishupala. He was looking like a rich man who had suddenly lost all his wealth. He looked so unhappy. And again, his face was dark with anger and disappointment, and he looked at his friends with questioning eyes. They shrugged their shoulders, and Jarasandha said, "Forget your worries, friend. Nothing is permanent in this world. Whether it is pleasant or unpleasant, man has to act according to the situation in which the vagaries of fortune have tossed him. He should continue his actions as though he is indifferent to all this. Man is, after all, but a helpless puppet in the hands of fate. Even as a wooden doll performs according to the wishes of the man who pulls off strings, man has to act according to the wishes of his maker. Look at me and consider how often I have been made to return to my kingdom, frustrated in my attempts by this wily Krishna. His guile is well known. I have learnt one thing. This world is ruled by fate and time combined, and hence I have learned to take things with equanimity. If it had not been fate, how could our combined army have been routed by the negligible army which that Balarama brought with him? Let us wait. Soon things will change. Some day the fates will favor us, and then we will be on top. They will be the losers." Not comforted one bit by these dry words of comfort which his friend spoke, Shishupala returned to his country, since there was nothing else to do. Bhishmaka, however, was extremely happy at the turn of events. Rukmi's anger was terrible. He collected one Akshovini and went in the direction in which Krishna went. He was bent upon killing Krishna. Before leaving, he took his bow in his hand and took an oath. "I swear that I will not enter this city of mine unless I kill Krishna and rescue Rukmini." He ordered his charioteer to go fast and overtake Krishna. Perhaps Krishna anticipated his coming. His chariot was going slowly, and Rukmi was able to spot the lonely chariot carrying his sister and her abductor. He came near and shouted, "Stop, stop, you thief! How dare you lay hands on my sister?" With 3 arrows, Rukmi hit Krishna. And he went on hurling insult after insult which were hurting, which were as sharp and as wounding as his arrows. Krishna smiled all the while. With 6 arrows he hit Rukmi, and his 4 horses were hit by 6 arrows from the bow of Krishna. The charioteer was then wounded by 2 more arrows, and the flagstaff of the chariot was felled by 3 more. Rukmi went on with the fight, and Krishna was unruffled. Bow after bow was taken by Rukmi, and each one was broken as soon as it was taken. Rukmi then took up several other weapons, and each one of them was splintered with the arrows sent by Krishna. Rukmi jumped down from his chariot, and with his sword in hand, he rushed towards Krishna with the desire to kill him. He looked like a moth rushing madly towards a flame. Krishna broke his sword into several pieces, and himself took up his sword and went towards Rukmi to kill him. Rukmini was frightened for her brother. She fell at the feet of Krishna and said, "Please, do not kill my brother. I beseech you, do not let my brother die." Her form was trembling with fear and her face was pale. Her voice was faint and her words were indistinct as she prayed for the life of her brother. Krishna let him off without killing him. He insulted him, however, by disfiguring him. Rukmi's locks were cut off and his moustache too. By this time, the Yadava army led by Balarama came there. Balarama took pity on Rukmi and his condition and said, "Krishna, you should not have done this to him. He then spoke words of comfort to Rukmi and said, In your love for your brother, He then spoke words of comfort to Rukmini and said, In your love for your brother, you are upset. But believe me, there is no need for you to be upset. Krishna was provoked into insulting your brother. You should not think on it any more, but go with Krishna with a happy heart. After all, your prayers have been answered and Rukmi's life has been spared. The Yadava host moved towards Dwaraka. Soon the chariot of Krishna with the Garuda flag was just a speck in the distance, and even that was lost to view. Rukmi stood watching the dust long after the chariot had vanished. He would not go back to his city. He stayed where he was. Later, he built a city and lived there. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Chapter 226 of Shrimadbhagavatam, Pradyumna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Lord Mahadeva, when he had lost Sati during the yajna of Daksha, was lost in meditation and was performing tapas on the mountain Himavan. Sati had been born as the daughter of Himavan, and she was famed as Parvati, the daughter of Parvata. She was bent on becoming the spouse of Mahadeva, and she was attending on him and serving him. He took no notice of her, absorbed as he was in his tapas. The Devas had been told that the son born to Mahadeva and Parvati would be Kumara, and that he would become the commander of the heavenly host. Indra wanted to precipitate matters. He therefore sent Kama, the god of love, to the spot where the Lord Mahadeva was performing intense tapas. Kama was attended by Vasanta, the season of spring laden with freshness, and with all the flowers which are in the quiver of Kama, the lotus, Ashoka, Chuta, the flower of the mango, Navamallika, and the blue lotus. Mandanila, the soft breeze from the south laden with the perfume of the mountain flowers, was also with them. When they came to the mountain, the air was balmy, and there was every hope of their mission being achieved. Parvati was attending on the Lord, and Kama shot his arrows of flowers at the Lord Mahadeva. He opened his eyes and they lighted on Parvati. But Mahadeva was angry at the thought of his tapas being disturbed. He looked around and his angry eyes spied Kama, who stood trembling. Mahadeva opened his third eye, and out of it streamed forth fire, which consumed Kama. Rati, the wife of Kama, went to the Lord, and her lamentation was heart-rending. The Lord took pity on her and told her that after his marriage with Parvati, he would see that Kama was restored to her, but Kama would be visible only to her. She then said, My Lord, will my husband never have a form any more? Mahadeva thought for a while and said, During Dwapara, Lord Narayana will be born as Krishna, and his son will be your Kama. You will be a maid in the house of Shambhara and Asura, and there your reunion will take place. According to this prophecy, a son was born to Krishna and Rukmini. This was Kama. The child was named Pradyumna, and great celebrations went on in the city of Dwaraka. Shambhara was an Asura who had been told that the child born of Krishna and Rukmini would be the death of him. He therefore came to Dwaraka, and when he heard about the birth of a child, he decided to hesitate no longer. It was not even 10 days since the child was born. When everyone was engaged in some task or other, Shambhara, who was waiting for his chance, found the child to have been left alone, unattended, for a moment. That was enough for him. He stole the child and vanished from the neighborhood of the city. He placed a great distance between himself and the city of Dwaraka. He thought of different ways of killing the child. Looking at the beauty of the newborn child, he could not do it himself, and so he decided to drown it in the sea. That way he could avoid seeing the child being killed, and at the same time he could be sure that it was dead. He therefore threw the child into the sea and went away to his city with an easy mind. Dwarka was a city of woe, and Rukmini was inconsolable. But time is a great healer, and gradually people began to forget that there was once a child born to Krishna and Rukmini, and that it was lost to them. The child which had been thrown into the sea did not die. A large fish thought it was a morsel of food and swallowed it whole. And the fish was caught by a group of fishermen. They found the fish to be so big and unusual that they took it to the king as a gift. The king, who was Shambara, accepted it, and it was duly sent to the kitchen to be cooked. The woman in charge of the kitchen was a beautiful girl by name Mayavati. When they cut up the fish, they found a child inside the fish, and they told Mayavati about it. She was charmed with the beauty of it, and her heart was full of compassion for the child. She took it and brought it up as her child. This son was growing up into a handsome boy. Narada came to see her one day. He looked at the young boy and asked Mayavati who he was. She told him the entire story of the fish. The strange finding of a child inside a fish which had been caught in the seas. Narada heard of it all. He then looked at her and said, "Do you remember anything about your past life at all?" "No, my lord," said Mayavati. "I know nothing of it, and yet at times I dream, and in that dream I feel that I am a goddess, and always there are flowers around me. I dream that I am wandering among them, and by my side is a man, a handsome man, the most handsome man that ever can be seen. But then, before I can find out how it all happened, my companion vanishes, and I see a heap of ashes by my side. This is the dream that often visits me in my sleep. Can you tell me why it happens?" "My child," said Narada, "it is not a dream but fragments of your previous birth. This was the most tragic event in your life, and so it persists in your memory and haunts you in this life too." "Tell me," she said, "tell me what it is all about." "You are Rati," said Narada. "Rati, the wife of Kama." She looked at him with unbelieving eyes. Narada then recounted to her the entire story and added, "This child you are now bringing up is none other than your lord Kama. Mahadeva had so ordained it that he should kill Shambara and then be united with you." Narada left her and went away. Mayavati was deeply immersed in thought. She knew that the words of rishis can never be false. She waited for the time when the little boy would grow up to be a man. She would tell him what he should do. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishna Parnamast. Chapter 227 of Shrimadbhagavatam, Mayavati. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Time rolled slowly on for Mayavati. Her time of waiting came to an end finally. The young boy now reached manhood, and his beauty was captivating. He had inherited his father's long eyes like the petals of a lotus. His arms were long, and his smile was like that of Krishna. Mayavati loved him. It was evident to the young man that with every action, with every lift of her eyebrows, and with her smiles, she was expressing her love for him and questioning him silently if he would accept her love. One day he came to her and said, "This behavior of yours is puzzling me. You have brought me up ever since I was a child, and you have been a mother to me. All these days and all these years it has been like that. And now, all on a sudden, you do not seem to think of me as your son. In fact, your eyes make your intentions very clear. Please do not embarrass me. Please forget these thoughts which are unbecoming to you." Mayavati told him about herself and about him. She said, You were born to Krishna in the house of the Yadavas. Rukmini is your mother. Shambhara stole you from your mother's side, and with the intentions of destroying you, he threw you into the sea. A fish swallowed you, and by a freak of fate, the fish was brought to the kitchen of Shambhara. I have taken care of you all these years. The sage Narada, the son of Brahma, told me all these. You must kill Shambhara, who is a past master in the art of fighting with the help of Maya. Your mother has never forgotten her child, whom she lost when he was a week old. Please do not worry about how you are going to kill Shambhara. I know the art of Maya, and I will teach you. She taught him the mantra by name Mahamaya. Pradyumna then challenged Shambhara to fight with him. Taken by surprise at the courage of this youngster who was calling him such insulting names, Shambhara came out with his mace uplifted. The fight between the two was long and fierce. Surprised by the prowess of the young man, Shambhara decided to use his powers of Maya, and the fight became more intense. None of the skills of Shambhara were effective against the young adversary. Pradyumna proved to be superior to him in every way. Finally, Pradyumna took up his sword and cut off the head of Shambhara. Mayavati, who could fly in the air, carried Pradyumna to the city of Dwaraka. She led him to the palace of Krishna. The servants, attendants, maids, and others who were busy with their daily tasks saw a young man enter with a very beautiful woman. The youngster was in every way like Lord Krishna, and they thought for a while it was Krishna, and they were speculating as to who the woman was. It took them some time to realize that he was not Krishna. Each one was asking the other, "Who is this young man?" Rukmini heard about the arrival of a young couple, and she came to see who they were. When she saw him, her eyes filled with tears. She said to herself, "If my child had been alive, he would have been just like this young man. I wonder who he is. It is strange that he should resemble my Lord so much. Can it be my son who has been considered lost?" She was still considering the newcomer's likeness to Krishna and wondering about who he was and why he had come there when Krishna came there with Vasudeva and Devaki. Krishna, who knew everything, stood there as though he knew nothing. Mayavati was about to speak when Narada appeared on the scene and cleared all their doubts. Pradyumna was embraced by everyone, and Mayavati found herself in the arms of Rukmini. Rukmini proudly announced that her son was lost and found again, as though he had died and was granted life again. Soon the entire city came to see their young prince, and there was joy in the heart of everyone. It seemed as though a child had been born only then, at that very moment. So great was the excitement in Dwaraka. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Chapter 228 of Shrimadbhagavatam. Krishna must have stolen it. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. One of the kinsmen of Krishna was Satrajit. He was a bhakta of Surya, and in fact, Surya considered him as one of his friends and not as just a bhakta. Once, Surya was in a happy frame of mind, and he said, "Satrajit, my friend, I would like to give you a costly gem as my gift. Please take it, and it will give you immense fortune." So saying, Surya gave the jewel by name Syamantaka to Satrajit. This jewel was as dazzling as the sun himself, and when Satrajit entered the city wearing the jewel on his neck, the people thought that the sun had come down to the earth. He then showed it to everyone very proudly. There was some special quality about the jewel. it would yield 12 mounds of gold every day to the owner. When the people saw the jewel and the glow of it, they went to Krishna and said, Krishna, please come and listen to this wonderful news. The sun has come down to the earth and even now he is walking towards your palace to visit you. Our eyes are hurting us, dazzled as we are by the glow of the sun. Krishna laughed at the ignorance of the people and said, it is not the sun. It is Satrajit wearing a jewel given to him by the sun. After showing the jewel to all his kinsmen, Satrajit took the jewel to his puja room and placed it in a sanctified place. The fame of the gem spread far and wide. It was said that there would be no famine nor poverty in the place where the jewel was worshipped. Every day, 12 mounds of gold would be found near the jewel, and Satrajit became very rich, and alongside he became very arrogant also. One day, Krishna had been to the house of Satrajit. During the conversation, Krishna said, it is said that the place where this jewel is placed will not have poverty, nor will there be famine in the country. It is said to avert accidental deaths and also diseases. The mind, I have been told, will always be tranquil and bodily pains will not be felt. Evil portents will not be seen, nor will there be any deceit or theft. Considering all these, it is, to my mind, a good idea if you leave this gem with the king Ugrasena, so that the entire country will benefit by the grace of Surya and not just you and your family. Satrajit had become too arrogant to let these words of Krishna have any influence on him. And again, he had become too fond of money. He laughed at Krishna and said, this was given to me by Surya as a keepsake, as a token of our friendship. If you want a similar jewel, pray to him and he may grant you one. Who knows? Krishna said nothing after that, and there the matter ended. Some days later, one day, Prasenajit, the brother of Satrajit, asked his brother if he could wear the jewel for a day. The brother agreed to it, and Prasenajit went out to hunt with the jewel on his neck. The sun had set and still he had not come home. Satrajit, worried about him and perhaps more about his jewel, waited impatiently for the night to pass. Day dawned and still there was no sign of Prasenajit. Satrajit was extremely worried and he went to the forest, and with him went a search party. There, in the heart of the dense forest, they found the dead body of the horse he had been riding. They went further and there they found the lifeless body of Prasenajit. They brought him home. Sure enough, the jewel was not found on him. Sad and angry at the death of his brother, Satrajit told someone, my brother has been killed. It is because someone wanted the Syamantaka. That someone wanted to possess it. Some days back, Krishna had come here. He asked me to give the gem to his grandfather, and I refused. Because of that, Krishna must have been angry, and this, I am sure, is his doing. He has killed my brother and taken the Syamantaka. I am sure of it. Krishna must have stolen the gem. The accusation was passed on from lip to lip, and finally it reached the ears of Krishna. He was at first amused, but he realized that people were apt to believe anything ill of others, even of their beloved Krishna. He was anxious now to vindicate his honor in the eyes of his people, since he now realized that everyone was willing to believe him guilty. Krishna collected a crowd of his friends and went to the forest to find a clue to the death of Prasenajit. He went to the spot where Prasenajit was found dead. In their eagerness to take the body home, Satrajit and others had not tried to look around and see what had happened. Krishna looked around, and near the spot where Prasenajit was found dead, He saw the tracks of a lion and they were leading away from there. They were to be found for quite some distance, and Krishna could see that there were signs of blood in the tracks. He now followed the tracks, and after going quite some distance, they stopped. Krishna and his companions found a dead lion. They searched the lion but could not find the jewel there. They saw, however, signs of a struggle and found that a bear and a lion had fought there, and the lion had been killed by the bear. Krishna now had to follow the tracks made by the bear, and he soon found himself at the mouth of an immense cave. He asked his companions to stay outside and went inside alone to see if the bear was there, and what was more important, to see if the jewel Syamantaka was there. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Krishnar Panamas.